Okay, so today we're going to try and finish fixing this TV. We get it out of here, get it back to the owner. One thing I will say is that in the last video, I did misspeak. Went back and looked at the power supply and everything. I had said that, I think it was on this one here, that the 3.4 was actually reading 2.4. It was a volt low. But these ones were okay. The voltages coming out of here were okay, but these voltages were a little bit low. And that is because that is actually an output from the main board, not the power supply. Those are actually inputs to the power supply to trigger it to turn on, to dim the backlight, etc. And I replaced this cap, which this cap needed to be replaced. And this isn't exactly the right cap for the job. It is 500 microfarad too low, but the only thing is I looked at the circuit, and this is just a filter cap, so it should be okay. So if you don't remember, the issue that we had with this TV was everything worked except there was no picture. There was a backlight. You could hear it trying to change channels. It would respond to the remote. Everything was fine except there was no picture. So if you have that issue, it's the T-Con board most likely. However, in this situation, I was looking at the main board because this HDMI port was completely shorted out. It had fallen apart internally, and all the pins were connecting to each other. So I was told that the second HDMI port eventually stopped working, and they were fiddling around with it, and that's when there was no picture. So that's why I was looking at this board here. Now, regardless, this board's going to need to be replaced because this port was destroyed, and when I took it off, actually, I goobered up some of the pads. And rather than do some serious micro soldering to fix that with a new port, it's easier just to buy a new board. I did go online and look, and I was able to buy actually this board and this board for, I think it was like $34, $35. So you might be saying I'm taking the easy route out. You're damn right I am. For $34, $35, I'm able to get both of these. Absolutely. So let's get this disconnected and get the new boards in and see if they help. So to get these out, usually use a flathead screwdriver for this, but there's a little, this piece, this darker brown piece just flips down. And let me get a flathead to make it easier. And you just flip that down and gently pull this cable out. These are pretty delicate. Now, before I ordered these boards, I did go through and check this board, made sure that the main chip is actually getting power. There's also a bunch of fuses on the board. I checked all of them, and they are okay. The caps are okay. Generally, if the LCD goes bad, it'll blow a fuse on here. And none of the fuses that are on this, and they're labeled FL for fusible link all over the board. Okay, so let's get this board out. Let's see if we can get this TV to fire up. Now for the T-Con board, there's a shield that goes over this, and there's two notches here that hold it in place so that you can reattach these ribbons, and they just fit down in there, and you close it. And you can see there's a little line there to make sure that it's in there evenly. Not all of them have that, but it is a nice thing when they do, because you can kind of eyeball it. Okay, the other thing is this wire from the power supply. Now, something I didn't do the first time that I should have, so I had to take it all apart, but it's no big deal, is attach all these wires prior to assembling it. Because watch. Just take a little easier. Alright, and before I put the shield back on, I'm going to attach the LVDS connector. Now, I'm not going to put it up here because I don't want it, ripping this thing off of its mounts and ripping the, little ribbon cables. So we're going to, and I can actually probably do this once it's all together, but just to be on the safe side, I'm going to put this on because this can be a bit delicate and hard to get in. So I'm just going to do this now. And then we'll sneak this over top. The easier way to do this would be with the TV laying face down. But since I'm not, and I'm doing this for the camera, I have to have it sitting up. And then since I'm just going to put a couple screws in just to hold it, and then I'll run them all in. Okay, so now that we got everything plugged in, I'm going to plug this in here. And I'm going to use this little bit of tape that's here just to hold it in place. And I'm going to put the shield back over top of it. And again, I'm probably jinxing myself doing all of this. Because you always test this stuff first before you put it all together, but I'm just going to hope that it works. Okay, so it's all together. I'll clean up some of the wiring in here in a little bit, but let's get this thing powered on and plugged in and powered on and see what happens. Alright, so let's plug it in. And we'll take this around front. We got a red light, blinking green light. And we got a picture. Perfect. We got menu. We got a menu. All right, so let's put it all back together. I don't know if I like the flickering, although that might just be because... Okay, yeah, that's just because of the static. What about input? Alright, so I'm going to go through, not right this second, put it all back together, and we're going to test all the inputs. We've got a no signal, so I think we're okay. And normally at this point I would test the inputs first, and turn it off. But I think we're good, so I'm going to put it all together and then I'll test the inputs. I'll double jinx myself. Okay, so as you see it's working. I just have it plugged into a VCR. I use that just to test. And all the inputs work. I did test them all. Right now it's just running into AV2, but I did check AV1. There's an AV output, and then there is component. And I checked the two HDMI ports and RGB in, and everything works just fine. I don't have anything for the the digital audio out at hand, but everything else works. So we should be in good shape. It's good to go. And just to show you, it does have audio. But I'll mute that so YouTube doesn't have a fit. So if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, leave them down below. And I'll see you next time.